Welcome back to part 5 of the 6-part series on mastering creative thinking. Today, we're diving into a topic that I find super exciting that can really change the way you look at the world around you. Now, have you ever wondered how some people can just solve those really hard, complex problems when you looked at it and you go, I'm not even going to touch that? Well, stick around because I'm going to share with you the secret sauce about systems thinking. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how to use systems thinking to tackle what seems to be unsolvable problems, and you'll do it like a pro. So trust me, this will be a game changer for your ability to be more creative and to enhance your problem solving skills. Let's jump right in. In our today's world, which is just brimming with complex challenges and intricate dynamics, our natural default response is to simplify the problem by breaking it down into smaller pieces and then try to tackle each one. Now, while this can be helpful in some cases, it often leads to tunnel vision and a narrowing focus on isolated factors rather than the bigger picture. Now, what if I told you there was a better way to approach this problem solving? Systems thinking is a powerful tool that helps us see beyond the immediate symptoms and understand the underlying structures and the relationships that drive complex systems. It encourages us to think holistically and consider all of the interconnections, all the dependencies, all the components of a system. But before we dive into what is systems thinking, let's define what we mean by systems. A system is an interconnected set of elements or components that work together as a whole to achieve a common goal or objective. Think of it as a puzzle, where each piece is unique but necessary to complete the bigger picture. Systems can be found everywhere, from nature and organizations to social systems, our bodies, and even, yes, the political environment we are operating in. Understanding them is key to solving complex problems. The importance of systems thinking, it's beyond just the surface level of a problem. It encourages us to analyze how various parts of a system are connected, and changes in one part of the system have a huge impact on other parts of the system. By considering this bigger picture, we gain a deeper understanding of the underlying causes and are better equipped to develop effective solutions. This holistic approach doesn't just solve problems, it revolutionizes how we see them and how we think about them in our lives day to day. It encourages us to break away from reductionist thinking, where we focus on breaking down a problem into isolated elements and solving each individual component. Instead, it forces us to understand the complexity of a system and those interdependencies of all the various factors, the components, the stakeholders, both inside and outside organization, everything that touches it. Systems thinking is about understanding that entire set of complexity. Now, this leads to a more comprehensive and a sustainable solution to the problem solving. Now, before we get into the tools and the complexity, I want to give you the benefits because I'm trying to entice you to stay through to the very end. And if you understand the benefits, then hopefully you'll be more willing to stick through as we walk through tools and techniques. So, what are some of these benefits that you can see? One is it will improve your problem-solving skills. Systems thinking enhances your ability to tackle complex problems by considering the entire system rather than our default mode of individual components. This approach helps identify those root causes and helps understand the hidden things underneath that, if we change it, will have an impact. 2, it enhances strategic planning. System thinking enables better forecasting and long-term planning by viewing the problem or a new opportunity more holistically rather than in an isolated situation. It helps organizations anticipate potential consequences and craft robust, flexible strategies in response. Number 3, increases adaptability. If you understand the interconnected nature of systems it allows for greater adaptability, and it allows you to build in resiliency. System thinkers can quickly identify and respond to changes within the system, making them better equipped to handle unexpected challenges and disruptions. And let's face it, we all would like things to stay the same. Disruptions are happening every day, and they are accelerating. So your ability to be a systems thinker can be hugely valuable to your organization. Number 4, greater innovation. Systems thinking encourages creativity and innovation by challenging our conventional wisdom and encouraging us to see connections that might not be immediately obvious. This broader perspective can uncover new opportunities that lead to really impactful, groundbreaking, disruptive ideas that become future innovations. 5, it informs decision making. With a comprehensive understanding of how distinct elements within a system interact, decisions within leadership teams, executives, is grounded in a more thorough analysis. This minimizes the unintended consequences of making a decision and seeing what happens, and it ensures that actions taken contribute positively to the overall system. 6, enhanced collaboration. A systems thinking approach fosters collaboration by emphasizing the interdependency of the various stakeholders and the components. When all the parties understand their role within the system and recognize the value of working together, it leads to a more cohesive, more effective teamwork. 7, it creates sustainable solutions. Systems thinking promotes sustainability by ensuring that solutions address not just the immediate symptoms, but also the long-term health and viability of the entire system. This leads to outcomes that are not only effective, but will endure over extended periods of time. But why does systems thinking even matter? Why are we even talking about it? In today's world, where the challenges are seldom isolated, we need more people who are skilled in systems thinking. System thinking transcends the traditional problem-solving methods. All the things you use to solve a problem, systems thinking goes beyond that. And it's into understanding the intricate web of all the connections, all of the elements that touch, influence, have input, use the output of all the elements of a system. This approach is not merely about identifying the symptoms. Oh, we've got a certain level of part failure. We have an NPS score with customer satisfaction dropping. It's about discovering the underlying causes and predicting potential ripple effects of any change you would make in the system. If you change A, does it have an impact on the NPS score? If you change B, will it have an impact on employee engagement? Well, if you change, understanding those dependencies ahead of time to know that when you make the change, it's going to be a positive impact, not just some random flipping of switches to see what happens. Now, organizations across diverse sectors have used the power of systems thinking to address really complex problems creatively. An example in healthcare, instead of solely concentrating on treating diseases, can we give them a pill for this? Can we do an operation? System thinking promotes a holistic approach that includes preventative care, mental well-being, lifestyle choices, and even socioeconomic factors. Such comprehensive strategies lead to better health outcomes and reduced long-term cost. System thinking enables businesses to navigate and thrive in rapidly changing environments. It helps identify interdependencies between various departments and market trends, suppliers, regulators, and consumer behaviors. And by doing so, companies can foster innovation, enhanced operational efficiency, and create resilient strategies that can quickly and easily adapt to the changing circumstances. Ultimately, systems thinking fosters a mindset that values this interconnectedness and long-term thinking. It transforms our approach from tackling issues and trouble tickets and fire drills to ponder not just about solving the problem, but also about enhancing overall system functionality and therefore having a broader, long-term, durable impact. Now, what's the science behind systems thinking? Is this just some management book that someone wrote? No. Systems thinking is grounded in research that delves into chaos theory and the behavior of complex nonlinear systems. These studies underscore the interconnectedness and dynamic interactions within systems, illustrating how a small little change can propagate through a network of systems to produce significant consequences. A concept that's best described as the butterfly effect. Now, the butterfly effect, if you're not familiar with it, is the theory that when a butterfly's wing flaps its wings in one part of the world, it creates a tornado or hurricane in another part of the world, because that's part of a overall environmental system, and can a little vibration in wind all of a sudden have this ripple effect. It's an illustrative example. Researchers such as Jay Forrester and Donella Meadows have contributed fundamental insights into how systems behave. So, for instance, Forrester's work in system dynamics revealed how feedback loops, both reinforcing and balancing, govern system behavior. This understanding aids in predicting and managing the ripple effect of changes within a system. Similarly, Meadows' research introduced the idea of leverage points, crucial spots within systems where if you intervene, it can have significant improvements, far exceeding the amount of resources that are being injected in that influence. Now, the science behind system thinking also draws from the study of complex adaptive systems, where diverse agents interact with ways to really deal with and create unpredictable outcomes. These systems are characterized by self-organization, emergent properties, and resiliency. Through computational modeling and simulation, researchers have dug in and demonstrated how these principles apply across various domains, from ecosystems to entire economies. The research establishing systems thinking reveals that systems are inherently hyper connected and are non-linear, meaning an input of one unit does not equal an output of one unit. You could have an input of one unit and have 500,000 units out the other end, or you can have it go negative too. But this requires a comprehensive approach to problem solving. Now, there are barriers to doing systems thinking within your team and within your organizations. Let's be realistic. Nothing is easy. And systems thinking is hard. First off, most organizations have a reductionist mindset. Now, and that's just the result of our training, our educational model. We emphasize reductionist thinking where problems are broken down into smaller, isolated parts. Now, this perspective makes it difficult to approach all the interdependencies within a large, complex system and to take a holistic approach. Number two, it's just the sheer complexity can be overwhelming. Systems are inherently complex and can just overload you with information and data and all the pieces that have to come together. With numerous variables and interactions to consider, most people just find it too difficult to grasp, and they just default to simplifying the problem and driving to a more linear types of solutions. Number three, lack of awareness. Many individuals and organizations are simply unaware of systems thinking methodologies. You're one step ahead because you're listening and or watching this content. But without the knowledge of tools and techniques like feedback loops and causal loop diagrams, people struggle with analyzing and understanding complex systems effectively. Four, and this is the one I struggled with when I was the CTO at Hewlett-Packard, short-term focus. System thinking requires long-term perspective, which can be at odds with immediate results, often demanded in business and in policy environments. The pressure to produce quick fixes, solve the quarterly problem, satisfy Wall Street, it can deter individuals from investing the time and resources needed for a thorough systems analysis. Number five, cultural resistance. Organization cultures that prioritize hierarchy and very established standard operating procedures will resist systems thinking, which often requires collaborative efforts and innovative approaches. Resistance to change can stymie the adoption of systems thinking principles. Number 6, misalignment of incentives. Often the incentives within an organization are not aligned to promote holistic solutions. Employees may be rewarded for solving local issues rather than addressing systematic problems, making it difficult to shift towards a systems thinking approach. Think about it. Problem in a single factory, solve this widget problem versus go back to the manufacturer of the steel that leads into that part. You solve that problem, it solves the part problem. It doesn't solve the problem just for that one factory, it solves the problem for all the factories. Systems thinking approaches are critical. 7, fragmented information. Incomplete or siloed information within organizations can obscure the understanding of the entire system. Without access to comprehensive data, it becomes challenging to identify patterns and interconnections and leverage points. And understanding these barriers is the first step to overcoming them. So, what are some of the systems thinking tools and techniques? Now, this is just a representative example. It's not the complete list. Now, these methods can help you dissect complex systems, identify the interconnections, and devise effective interventions. But I'm not going to spend detail into each one of these, giving you enough information that will then allow you to think about which one of these to apply to your organization and give you enough information to search and find other content that will give you more details. So let's hop in. First up, causal loop diagrams, or CLDs. Causal loop diagrams are visual tools that map out the relationships and feedback loops within a system. By illustrating variables and their cause and effect relationships, CLDs enable individuals to see how all the different components of a system influence one another. This visualization helps identify reinforcing loops, which amplify changes, and balancing loops, which counteract any changes. CLDs are invaluable for diagnosing problems and predicting the behavior of systems over time. In my case, I have used CLDs in many times over my career. Probably the one that had the biggest impact was a CLD created in order to look at all of the systems and all of the stakeholders influenced by back office systems for the launching of one of the first GSM mobile operators in the US, OmniPoint in New York City. We literally had hundreds of systems coming in from more than 50 vendors and in touching every part of a brand new organization newly being built. And understanding all of that complexity, we defaulted to a CLD. And in fact, today, if you run into people who are part of that team, they will know it under the term of the spaghetti diagrams. And the spaghetti diagrams allowed us to also not only track and understand, but help us educate leaders on how complex these systems had gotten and therefore understanding the challenges to making changes or totally flipping directions of how you want the organization to operate. You needed to understand the complexity that was there and the change that would be required. So, CLDs, big fan. Take the time, learn how to use them. 2, stock flow diagrams. Stock and flow diagrams build on CLDs by adding quantitative dimensions. Stock represents the accumulation or quantities within a system, like number of widgets coming into the factory, number of products sold through third-party retail, number of calls into the call center, while flows predict the rates at which stocks change. So how many calls are in the queue? How long is the average queue length in a customer service center? This method is particularly useful for systems modeling, where understanding the dynamics of accumulation and depletion is absolutely crucial. And by simulating different scenarios, stock and flow diagrams help identify leverage points for intervention and predict long-term outcomes. For example, a stock and flow diagram could model how changes in the birth rate of a species impact the overall population over time. 3, systems archetypes. System archetypes are recurring patterns of behavior within systems. We've all seen these, but it's important to understand how they can be applied or how they could be positive or negatively influence systems. So common archetypes include limits to growth, or shifting the burden, or tragedy of the commons. Recognizing these archetypes enables individuals to anticipate potential issues and address root cause rather than the systems. Now, for instance, in the case of understanding the limits of growth archetype, this helps identify when resource constraint is constraining growth. So therefore, it prompts a proactive measure to mitigate the impact. Number 4, the iceberg model. The iceberg model encourages deeper exploration, looking beyond the surface events to uncover what's happening below the waterline in the structures and mental models of a system. It has 4 levels: events, patterns, systemic structures, and inherent mental models. By analyzing each level, individuals can identify the fundamental causes of problems and develop a more set of sustainable solutions. This approach fosters a shift from reactive to proactive problem solving. Number 5, systems mapping. Systems mapping involves creating detailed maps that capture the complexity of a system, including its components, its relationships, and its boundaries. This comprehensive visual representation helps stakeholders understand the big picture, identify redundancies, and uncover hidden connections. Systems mapping is particularly effective for collaborative projects. It facilitates shared understanding and collective problem solving. I would use this if I was coming in to advise a leadership team where they had an existing set of systems but no detailed understanding. You want to create this kind of a diagram. Number 6, scenario planning. Scenario planning explores multiple future scenarios based on different assumptions and variables. By considering various what-if situations, organizations can better prepare for whatever might come up. Now, this technique enhances systems thinking by promoting resiliency, adaptability, and enabling organizations to navigate the uncertainties more effectively. What ifs could be, what if a pandemic emerges? That would have been good to think about prior to 2020. Or what if regulators deploy a new regulatory requirement? Or what if the economy makes a big shift, either up or down? Scenario planning, critical, and understanding those scenarios in complex systems, it's a lot harder than it sounds. 7, simulation modeling. Simulation modeling, or sometimes called digital twins, uses a computational tools to create deep, detailed virtual representation of systems. These model allows for experimentation and analysis of complex interactions without disrupting real-world operations. And by running simulations, teams can test different strategies. They can assess possible outcomes and refine their approaches based on data-driven insights. Number 8, leverage points identification. Leverage points are those specific areas within a system where a small change can lead to significant improvements. It can also, if you choose the wrong one and put the wrong emphasis on it, you can actually generate a negative outcome. But identifying these positive points involves analyzing feedback loops, accumulation, and delays to pinpoint where interventions will be most positively effective. Individuals and organizations can achieve meaningful and sustainable change with minimal amount of resource investment by focusing its efforts on these leverage points. Now, by leveraging all of these tools and techniques, individuals, organizations, teams, government agencies, NGOs can enhance their capacity for systems thinking and therefore lead to a more innovative solution to some of these complex problems. Now, we've talked about the benefits, we've talked about the challenges of bringing systems thinking into an organization, we've talked about the tools and techniques. Now I want to give you some real-world examples where systems thinking has been approached and what the result was. Number 1, healthcare improvement. In the healthcare industry, systems thinking has been employed to optimize patient care and operational efficiency. For instance, the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, IHI, used systems thinking tools to develop the Triple Aim framework, which focuses on improving patient experience, reducing cost, and enhancing the health of populations. By viewing healthcare delivery as an interconnected system and addressing root causes rather than just symptoms, hospitals have successfully reduced readmission rates, improved overall patient health, and seen significant improvement in outcomes. Number 2, environmental resource management. Systems thinking has played a crucial role in addressing environmental resource management. One notable example is fisheries in New Zealand. By using stock and flow diagrams and scenario planning, policymakers balance fish populations with fishing activities. These systems approach help prevent overfishing, ensuring that the long-term viability of the fish stock and maintain the livelihood of local communities dependent on the fishing. 3, corporate strategy and business transformation. Every organization has gone through this over the last handful of years. For example, though, Procter & Gamble successfully overhauled its supply chain operations by employing systems mapping and simulation modeling. By understanding the interdependencies within supply chain processes, P&G optimized inventory levels, reducing lead times and improving customer satisfaction. This holistic approach resulted in significant cost savings and enhanced competitiveness in the global market. 4, education reform. Applying systems thinking in education can be challenging. I write about it in my book. You can read the chapter there. I've written about it on the blog. You can read about it there. But when done right, it can lead to remarkable improvement in student outcomes. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, implemented systems thinking in their course design to foster interdisciplinary listening, learning, problem-solving skills. By treating the educational environment as an interconnected system, MIT developed curriculums that better prepared students for the complexities of real-world challenges, leading to higher graduation rates and better student success post-graduation. So, as we wrap up, the power of system thinking lies in its ability to unlock creative potential and provide holistic solutions, holistic innovations to complex problems. By adopting this comprehensive approach, you, your team, your organization, whatever your role is, can transition traditional boundaries. You can uncover those deep-seated issues and leverage really those strategic interventions to drive significant, impactful change in very, very large, very, very complex types of problems. System thinking just transforms the challenges into opportunities. It fosters resiliency, and it gives additional adaptability in an ever-changing world that we're facing today. Embracing this mindset equips you with the confidence to navigate the uncertainties and build a sustainable future, where innovative solutions, your innovations, not only address immediate needs, but also pave the way for long-term success. Now, the journey towards mastering systems thinking, it opens the doors to unprecedented possibilities, and it empowers you to make meaningful, lasting contributions to any field. So, as we wrap up today, I thank you for your time. Invest your time to learn more about systems thinking. If you're interested in having me do more videos and podcasts on systems thinking, drop me a note in the comments. I read 100% of all the comments posted, and I try to respond to every comment that is sent in. Love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and so that you don't miss any of the future episodes. Keep in mind that we're in 5 of 6 in this series, and we're looking to what we would cover next after we get past this. So with that, thanks for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Catch you next week. Bye-bye.